You're doing 200 miles per hour. That's 293 feet every second. A football field in about 1/3 of a second. And in the next few seconds, your body will learn a rule of physics that no human can negotiate. Because at 200 miles per hour, a crash isn't one event. It's a chain reaction inside your tissues, measured in milliseconds. Subscribe for extreme body science, so let's put you in the driver's seat. Not to be dramatic, to be exact. You're on a straight road. The engine is screaming. Your hands feel steady. Your brain feels in control, but your body is lying to you. At 200 miles per hour, you're not driving fast. You're carrying a massive amount of kinetic energy. And kinetic energy doesn't scale with speed, it scales with speed squared. That means 200 miles per hour versus 60 miles per hour isn't a bit worse. It's about 11 times the crash energy. Freeze the frame. Look at the dashboard. Look at your chest. Look at your skull. Everything inside you is moving at 200 miles per hour too. Your organs, your blood, your brain, they just haven't been forced to stop yet. Now the road ends. A stalled truck, a concrete barrier, a turn you didn't see. You slam the brakes. At 200 miles per hour, braking feels like doing something. But physics does not care about your feelings. Even a strong car on dry pavement might take several hundred meters to stop from that speed. You don't have that distance. You have a few heartbeats. T-2 seconds. Your eyes register danger. Your amygdala spikes fear. Adrenaline dumps into your blood. Your pupils widen. Your heart rate surges. Your muscles tense. This is the ancient save me system. But here's the cruel twist. Tensing your body can make injury worse. A rigid body transmits force. A relaxed body can deform a little more. And at 200 miles per hour, you need every extra millimeter of deformation you can get. T-1 second. Your foot hits the brake hard. The tires scream. Your seatbelt tightens. The car begins to decelerate. But the deceleration is tiny compared to what's coming. Your body leans forward slightly. That's inertia. Your mass wants to keep doing what it was doing. You were moving at 200 miles per hour, so your body votes. Keep going. T-0.2 seconds. Your mind tries to make a plan. It can't, because human reaction time is often around 0.2 to 0.3 seconds. At 200 miles per hour, in 0.2 seconds, you travel about 59 feet. That's a small house worth of distance. Gone before you even finish. Oh, now the impact. T-0.000 seconds. The front of the car meets something that won't move. Here's the first thing people misunderstand. The car doesn't crumple because it's weak. It crumples to buy time. Crash safety is basically one strategy. Increase stopping distance, increase stopping time, reduce peak force. But at 200 miles per hour, the energy is so high that even perfect crumple zones run out of room. The front end collapses. Metal folds. The engine block shifts, the cabin starts to deform, and you are still moving at 200 miles per hour. T-0.0 5 seconds, 5 milliseconds. A pressure wave travels through the structure. Your seat is bolted to a frame that is suddenly changing shape. Your spine experiences a violent load path transfer. In plain language, your skeleton is about to become a shock absorber. Bones are strong in compression, not so strong in bending, twisting, and shear. And a high-speed crash doesn't choose one force. It delivers all of them. The car's exterior is failing first. Your body fails second. But your organs fail in a different order. Because the real killer isn't only broken metal, it's deceleration. T-0.015 seconds, 15 milliseconds. The seatbelt pretensioner fires. It yanks the belt tight, removing slack. This is meant to stop you early before you hit the airbag. At normal highway speeds, that's life-saving. At 200 miles per hour, it becomes a brutal trade, because the belt now concentrates force across your collarbones, sternum, ribs, and pelvis. Imagine trying to stop a fast-moving body with a few inches of webbing. The belt can prevent ejection, but it cannot make 200 miles per hour safe. It just changes what fails first. T-0.30 seconds, 30 milliseconds. The airbag ignites, not inflates. It detonates a gas-generating reaction that fills the bag in a blink. Airbags are designed for a narrow window of crashes. They're supplemental restraint systems. They assume you're wearing a seatbelt. They assume the cabin is mostly intact. They assume the impact speed is survivable. At 200 miles per hour into a rigid object, those assumptions collapse. The bag meets a body that still has enormous forward momentum. And the airbag has a limit. It can cushion a blow. It cannot absorb infinite energy. T, 0.050 seconds, 50 milliseconds. Now we talk about your brain. Your skull is a hard shell. Your brain is soft tissue suspended in fluid. When the car stops, your skull decelerates with it. Your brain doesn't stop at the same rate. So inside your head, your brain lags, then slams. This creates two injuries at once: coup, impact side, and contre coup, opposite side. But the more catastrophic injury is deeper: diffuse axonal injury. Your neurons have long fibers called axons. Rapid rotation and shear forces stretch them. They don't have to tear in half to fail. Even microscopic damage can disrupt signaling. That means consciousness can disappear before you understand what happened. At 200 miles per hour, the acceleration and rotation can be so extreme that the brain's networks fail fast. Not dramatic, mechanical. An axon is like a living cable. If you yank it hard enough, the insulation and transport systems fail. The cell can't communicate. The brain loses coordination. This is why someone can look not too injured and still be catastrophically hurt. The damage is inside the wiring. T, or 0 to 70 seconds, 70 milliseconds. Now your chest. Your ribcage is designed to flex for breathing. In a massive deceleration, it becomes a cage under compression. The seatbelt loads the sternum. Ribs can fracture. The lungs can bruise and bleed internally in what's called pulmonary contusion. Here's the hidden danger. Bruised lungs don't exchange oxygen well. So even if your heart is beating, your blood can't pick up enough oxygen. Your body begins drowning from the inside without water ever entering your mouth. T inged 0 to 90 seconds, 90 milliseconds. Your heart and aorta enter the story. The heart is anchored. The aorta has fixed points near the heart and more mobile sections farther down. Rapid deceleration can create a violent differential movement. That can cause aortic injury near anchor points. This is one reason ultra-high-speed impacts are often immediately fatal, not because the heart stops, because the main highway for blood is damaged. If blood pressure collapses fast, the brain loses perfusion within seconds. What if you're in a safe modern car? 5-star rating, all airbags, perfect belt. It doesn't matter the way people hope it matters. Crash ratings are usually designed around realistic road speeds and specific test conditions. 200 miles per hour is beyond the envelope. You can engineer miracles. You cannot cheat energy. T 0.120 seconds, 120 milliseconds. Your abdomen. Unlike your ribcage, your abdomen has less bony protection. The liver and spleen are dense, blood-rich organs. In high deceleration, they can tear, even without external penetration. The problem is simple. A tear in a blood-rich organ can cause rapid internal bleeding. Your body can lose critical blood volume before anyone outside the car knows. At extreme speeds, time to bleed out shrinks dramatically. T 150 seconds, 150 milliseconds. Your pelvis. The pelvis is a ring. Rings fail when loaded unevenly. Seatbelts restrain the pelvis to stop forward motion. If the belt rides too high, it can load the abdomen instead. If the cabin intrudes, the pelvis can fracture. A pelvic fracture isn't just a broken bone. It can be associated with massive bleeding because large vessels run nearby. Again, the theme is not pain, it's circulation collapse. Movies show a 200 miles per hour crash and the character crawls out coughing. Real high-energy crashes don't negotiate with plot armor because the injury mechanisms are not cuts and bruises. They're structural failures of life support, brain networks, breathing surfaces, blood pressure systems. T Murray 0.200 seconds, 200 milliseconds. Secondary impacts begin. Your knees can strike the dash. Your femurs can take axial loads. Your cervical spine can whip. Modern cars try to manage this with collapsible columns, airbags, padding. But at 200 miles per hour, compartments intrude. Steering columns shift. Footwells collapse. The cabin is no longer a protective shell. It becomes a crushing environment. Now you have both, deceleration trauma and intrusion trauma. T 0.250 seconds, 250 milliseconds. Your neck. Even with a headrest, the forces can be extreme. The head is heavy relative to the neck. If the torso is restrained and the head continues moving, the cervical spine experiences violent bending and shear. This is where spinal cord injury risk climbs sharply. A cord injury isn't about can you walk, it's about breathing. The diaphragm is driven by nerves from the cervical region. High spinal injury can silence breathing instantly. Outcome: A. The crash disrupts brain function immediately. You lose consciousness fast. Outcome B. You remain conscious briefly, but your body's systems are failing on a timer. Either way, survival depends on one thing: how much time you had to slow down. And at 200 miles per hour, you did not have enough. Now, the question everyone asks, is it ever survivable? No, not in the scenario most people mean: 200 miles per hour into a rigid obstacle in a standard road car. Because survivability requires deceleration forces and cabin intrusion levels that are rarely compatible with life. But there's an important nuance. If you could extend the stopping distance dramatically, like sliding for a long distance with controlled energy absorption, survival odds can change. This is why some high-speed race crashes are survivable, not because the speed was safe, because the car dissipated energy over distance and time, and the occupant cell stayed intact. Racing also adds critical tools: multi-point harnesses, hands devices, roll cages, fire systems, helmets. Even then, 200 miles per hour straight into an immovable barrier is a different physics problem. It might be what happens after the impact if you survive the first second. Because now your body is injured in ways that evolve. Your brain swelling can increase minutes later, your lungs can fill with fluid and blood, internal bleeding can ramp up. So, I'm awake does not mean I'm okay. 1 second. If you're conscious, your body enters shock. Shock isn't only emotional, it's physiological. Your tissues are starving for oxygen delivery. Your heart rate spikes, your vessels constrict, your skin turns cold and sweaty, your brain prioritizes survival systems, fine motor control drops, judgment narrows. This is why people make strange choices after crashes. Their biology is running the show. More 10 seconds. If major bleeding is present, blood pressure can plummet. Your brain is extremely sensitive to low perfusion. Dizziness, tunnel vision, confusion. At this point, your body is bargaining with biology. It starts shutting down non-essentials. 60 seconds. If breathing is compromised, lung contusion, airway injury, high spinal injury, oxygen saturation falls. Low oxygen plus low blood pressure is a lethal combination. The brain and heart both suffer. And remember, this can be happening even if there's minimal external blood. A crash is survivable when the stopping time is long enough and the forces stay within what tissues can tolerate. At 200 miles per hour, the energy is enormous. To keep forces survivable, you'd need a long controlled deceleration. Far more than most real-world crashes can provide. If the stopping distance is short, the force spikes, and the body fails. So why can't the human body survive a 200 miles per hour car crash? Because your body is not built for instant deceleration, violent rotation, organ inertia, and structural intrusion, all at the same moment. Your skeleton can crack, but more importantly, your life support can collapse, brain wiring, breathing surfaces, circulation highways. The terrifying part is how fast it happens. Not minutes, not even seconds, milliseconds. At 200 miles per hour, you don't hit the wall. You turn your own momentum into internal trauma, and momentum always gets paid.